how can we keep things the same and leverage what we already have based on principles and ways of working versus starting from scratch every time and not really looking at the impact around it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 111. This guest, amazing. There's two different reasons why I say she's amazing. She's not only going to help you guys as the business owners to understand how to work smarter, because that's actually everything she does in her business, but she also has another side of her business, which is a training division, which trains your business managers, your team to actually run and manage you better. So two really cool sides to this conversation we have coming up. I want to introduce you to the amazing Leanne Woff. So she's an award-winning online business manager and integrator. She's an online business manager coach, which is her training side as well. So she does the work and she does the coaching with her training, and the driving force behind the powerhouse operations, systems, and growth agency called Audacious Empires. She's going to tell you why she called it that coming up as well. She's an incredible communicator. I absolutely adored our conversation. There's so many powerful takeaways for you guys to how you run your business, everything that I stand for, the anti-hustle culture, still working hard and smart, but not working brainlessly and tirelessly to not ever know what the hell you're doing in your business. That's what we're going to talk about. Good stuff. Good golden nuggets coming up. Guys, you ready? You ready? Let's bring on Leanne to the show. Leanne, welcome to the Hustle Rebellion. How's it going?
Hey, Heather. It's going great. How are you?
I'm so good. And I, on purpose, didn't really talk too much to Leanne, you guys, at the start of this, but before I hit record, because I'm going to ask her questions that I guiltily want to know. And I thought I would just record the session. So
Perfect.
Excellent. Okay, you guys are going to totally get to know Leanne as we go, of course. But I love to start with the tangibles. So we're going to start with 3 tips personally, Leanne, because you have a booming business. You guys are doing cool things in the world. What do you guys, or personally you, 3 things that you do with your business growth to stay away from that and, that crazy hustle and grind and grow smarter?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I think that too, it's a question that a lot more people are asking now, which I'm totally loving.
Yes.
It's just on a side note. So the first thing that we do is I'm really, really big on systems thinking and applying systems thinking to all kinds of areas in business. And so what that means is when you look at your business, particularly your operations, and instead of seeing each piece as a micro piece, or each process as a micro piece, or each thing that you have, or each person, you see it as a whole business, a whole system. And you have all these cogs, and what you want is all the cogs working together really smoothly. And so how that translates is that then when we create anything, and that could be a process, it can be even a decision that you need to make, you have to think about your cog, but you also have to think about the cogs around it. And the beauty of doing it this way is you're already looking at the impact that this new thing or this decision will have. So you're mitigating heaps of potential issues and you're taking advantage of opportunities just with each and every day decisions. And so in my business, I love to create systems. And so if we're, say, creating a course, it's okay, we already have another course. How does that look? How does that feel? What do we do around that? And what can we translate to this new one? How can we keep things the same and leverage what we already have based on principles and ways of working versus starting from scratch every time and not really looking at the impact around it. So we're getting leverage and we're making smart decisions as we're going.
Nice.
So that's probably like a big thing on my end is the whole systems aspect.
Really good. Systems thinking. I like how you're talking about it as like almost a whole ecosystem rather than just a standalone system. That's really smart. I've actually never heard anyone describe it like that before. So thank you for that. What's another tip?
Another tip is to get really clear on your priorities, but also on your capacity. So as business owners and in my own business too, I will look at something and go, oh, it's going to take me this much time, or I'll just book things and, plan my diary the way I do, or have a whole bunch of tasks I want to complete. But unless we actually step back and look at the resources that we need and look at what's really involved in those things, what ends up happening is we get this big pile of things we have to do that we can't keep on top of. And that's when we hit our overwhelm wall. And when we're overwhelmed, we can't think clearly and we end up flustered and things end up taking us longer. Now, the other thing is we get really excited about what we want to do and what we want to do in this business. And let's say, working within my own business and within, say, OBM Academy with OBMs, there's all these things I want to give these OBMs. There's these things I want to do, these tools that they need, resources I want to create. And I can keep running based on the impact I want to see and want to give them. But that's going to end up with me hitting a wall. But the second that I actually have to force myself to sit back and go, okay, what's the priority here? What is the first thing I'm going to do? And what's the impact on them? What's going to give them the biggest impact? And let's focus on that. Get that right, get that out, then move to the next thing. And keep things really consistent in a timely way and measure back to my capacity. That's when I can consistently create really high quality resources that serve a purpose versus just trying to do all these things that are everywhere or keeping it all in my head. And then I can think clearer because I'm not in that overwhelmed state.
Yeah.
And then how that ties into even every day, like my everyday, I generally plan things in my calendar. So I have task management systems, I have an online calendar, and I use them really well together. And my rule is if something goes in my calendar and I decide, is this going to take me 3 hours? If I need to move it or it's going to take me longer, I actually have to move whatever else in my calendar that might be taking that spot now. So there is none of this process that sometimes we as scaling businesses find where we just go, okay, I'll do that tomorrow. But then we don't actually look at the immediate impact of that. Whereas I have this rule of nothing can happen unless I move what's already there. And that way I don't end up behind because I'm making executive decisions each and every day. And it's my own discipline and I have to stick to it. But I find that really helpful too.
I love that. Do you know, it's interesting. I was having a chat around sort of what you put into your calendar and tasks with my sales guy yesterday, Adam. And he's like, do you know that I've been finding from working with business owners that a lot of business owners put a project as a task in their calendar versus an actual task. And that's why they can't get through it because it's actually a project.
Yes. And it's amazing because you don't realize until you sit down and you actually go, okay, if I look at this one project that I think is a task, what's really involved in that? And even if you wrote down 5 main things of what it is, all of a sudden you start to go, oh, this is actually more than I thought.
Yeah.
But we don't realize, we just go into doing mode. And sometimes that tends to have a negative impact instead of giving us leverage and being proactive.
Nice. Okay, tip number 3, what else do you do to grow smarter?
To grow smarter, this is a big one. I'm really big on radical proactivity. So, which actually really goes in really well with what you were just saying. So I tend to like to look forward and I like to look at the purpose of why we're doing things and the outcomes that we want to achieve. And then really planning what that means and what that looks like so that I can get that in-depth insight and I can craft the best way for us to get to that certain outcome from the beginning. So this process, if you're looking at a massive project, it can seem like a really big thing that you have to do. But if you do it ongoing and by task basis, it's actually really easy and it's effective. And that's where you look at something before you start doing it and you go, okay, what is the impact here? Who on my team do I need? What does the end result look like? And what do I need to do to achieve that? What are the potential issues I might come across? So if everything goes really smoothly, this is how it would look. And generally, that's how we tend to plan tasks. When we're planning, we as humans default to this is how I expect it to go. but we don't think about what are some common things that might happen. Maybe the technology will fail. What if I have a team member who's sick for a week of that? And we just think about some really quick contingencies. And that way, when we get to it, we're not shocked. We've already preempted it, and we can calmly address these things. We also gives us the ability when we're planning something this way, we know the way it should flow, we know what's included, we can plan better, but it also means that we're aware of where the critical points are. So if you're working on a task or a project, there's a bit where you really need to pay attention, or a bit that might be more difficult, or a bit where this is where we're going to get the best opportunity here, when to be all in and focused on that thing. And that's where you'll get more leverage. So if we do that little bit of proactive thinking and planning at the start, we get better results, and we actually end up a lot more calm as we're moving through it, because we've already thought about it. We've got this whole visual in our head, and we feel safer in that process. So it's that let's plan and do things just in a logical and a clear manner versus out of excitement or urgency.
We tend to live in such, urgency, reactivity. I'm curious if you personally, Leanne, have any rituals or things that you do to help you go into that proactive mindset.
Yeah, so I do. I do so more with what am I trying to say? There's two split ways that I look at it. One is if we're doing something completely new, and the level of thought that goes into something very new. And that's more of a structured planning routine, where it is that I look at the people, I look at the processes, I look at the tasks and the activities, I look at the hurdles. That's a more structured in terms of let's get this really clear from the baseline, and then we can grow and adapt as we go. But on a day-to-day basis, it's simple things like I look at my week ahead, and I make sure that everything in my week, it still makes sense. I look at the things within my business that we're doing on a regular basis. So in businesses, we're always doing marketing, or we're always doing trying new avenues to get better results. And sometimes we'll try a lot of things, but we don't measure them properly. Or we fall into this pattern where we're doing things because we've always done them.
Yeah.
But we don't review them. And that's when we end up burning our energy and wasting our time, because what might have worked a year ago might not be serving us, but we're still in this process of doing it because that's what we've done. So as part of the way that I operate, when I'm testing new lead magnets, or when I'm, working with different social media channels, following our marketing example, I actually look at the results that we're getting. And I have that built-in rhythm of looking at metrics and really remembering the why. I think that's important. And it's something we miss so often, is why are we actually doing this? And are we getting the benefit from doing that? Because otherwise, we end up in this spiral, and we do end up reactive. We end up with no leads a year later, and we don't understand why. But it's because we never paused. So I'm constantly in this place of test and review, and then see how things feel. So in my day, in my week, is there enough space? Is there enough air? I'll actually look at my calendar and review that, and review the emotional impact too. Some things require more than just your brain, and it is your whole being and your energy that goes into it. And I know if I've got things like that on my plate, I need more room around it than maybe I would if I was doing administrative tasks. And so I work that in my calendar.
That is key right there, what you just said. I want to reiterate that, because we oftentimes, or at least I'm guilty of this, is looking at tasks as the same weight, so to speak, and not actually thinking or proactively thinking about the emotional or physical reaction. So if I'm going off and speaking for a day, I actually don't even build in a lot of downtime, because I just say, oh, it's just a day. I'm busy that day. But that's actually a cool distinction. And that actually is going to stick with me. So thank you for sharing that piece too.
Hey, you're so welcome. I'm glad that it
Amazing.
was helpful.
This whole chat is brilliant. And now I want to know more about your journey and what you're actually doing. I gave everyone a piece of this in your intro, but what's your background? Where'd you come from?
So, where did I come from? I actually came from, well, my parents, but outside of that, I no, I was in administration for a long time, and
Yeah.
then I ended up being an office coordinator, and then I was like a corporate receptionist for a big company, and I got really frustrated because I found that there was no room for innovation. It didn't really matter if you had a better idea or a better way of doing something and it was going to get a better outcome. The layers within businesses like that are too big, and it's just no, you do things because that's the way we've always done them. And so I got really tired of being in places like that. And so I
Yeah.
became a virtual assistant and um, decided to do general administration for lots of different businesses. And then in that, again, I got really frustrated because I was doing tasks that didn't light me up. I didn't fully enjoy them. And I was getting frustrated getting compared to all different kinds of support levels, whether you're onshore or offshore, or how much you're charging for this or that. And I couldn't quite work out where the critical point was here. Why was this so painful for me?
Right.
Until one of my clients actually said to me, it's because you're not a general admin person, you're a business manager. And I went,
Interesting distinction. Yes.
yeah. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
And so since then, it made so much sense. So my position in businesses is really to help run businesses and run them efficiently, help them scale, streamline, remove bottlenecks, and manage all of the day-to-day pieces in their team so that they get the leverage and the impact that they need, space and ideation, so that they have the business they enjoy.
Love it.
Yeah,
Oh my
so
gosh.
that's where I am now. And then on the flip side of that, I had lots of other people who do what I do saying, but how do you do this? How do you do that?
Yeah.
And we need help here. So then I started teaching what I do to OBMs as well.
Got it. What's your business called for the service part that you offer?
Yeah, so my business is Audacious Empires,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. And the whole reason I named it that took me a long time to come up with the name. But Audacious is where it's where you make big, bold, brave decisions that other people might see as reckless, but they're actually calculated risk. And so I love to work with people who are audacious, who have an impact that they want to make. And they might go, okay, this looks like it'll be hard, but I'm going to do it anyway because I want to see that impact. And so, yeah, that combined with scaling businesses and empire builders, that's always been my jam.
Got it. And so in the OBM, so online business manager, OBM, yeah?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's an academy that business offers. Is that right? The training?
Yes, correct. Correct. So
Got it.
it's a split side. So we have clients who then we help run their businesses, and then we have OBM Academy, which sits under it to train other OBMs to do what we do.
I absolutely love the business model. It's so good. Oh my gosh, so good. How many of them people are on your team to do the actual delivery of the running of the businesses?
Yeah. So we actually are a little team, and we're quite systematic in how we work, which is how we keep it small. And so there's only 4 of us on my team. Yeah. And they all work with me in this office, in my little office, and they're the best people. We get along so well. So it's great.
Brilliant. And so with you guys, how does it work? So if a client comes in, do you each work as a pod or a team and you all work with the client, or is it individual people assigned to a client?
Oh, this is a really, really good question. And it's because we have clients who prefer just to speak to one person.
Yes.
And that's totally okay. That helps them feel more calm and grounded. And then we have other clients who actually like to talk to all of us.
Okay.
So we have a split way that we work. We always have one key point of contact with our clients, But the beauty of my team is that there's 4 different people with 4 different levels of experience, knowledge, life experience. And so I always tell my client, no matter who it is that you're speaking to, whoever your team person is, behind the scenes, we draw from the rest of us. So when we're looking at a strategy or when we're looking at executing it, we will go to the person within our team who is best qualified to give you the best result for that. And if that means that you are happy to talk to them and for them to be really involved too, great. And if you feel more comfortable, if we do that behind the scenes and we manage it from our end, then we do that. As long as we know you're getting the best resource, that's what we want.
Very good. Okay, now we're going to actually talk through the process of how you guys work with the client. I want to specifically focus on the service side of your business. We'll ask a few questions about the academy as well, but let's start with the service. So do you have a case study or somebody that you guys have recently worked with where you could talk me through the before and after so I can get my head around actually how you guys help people?
Yes, I actually have a really good one.
Go for it.
So this person that we worked with is incredible. They're in the digital marketing space, and they had a little bit of a split business too. They had an agency where they serviced clients one-to-one, and then they had their courses and their one-to-many different models where they taught students how to do things. And so this person found us and was very overloaded, overwhelmed, and a little bit frustrated because they weren't getting quite the results that they wanted. But the key thing with this person is she just really wanted help. She knew she needed help. She didn't quite know where to start. And so she came to us. And so the first thing that we always do is have quite an extensive questionnaire so that we can get the insight into the business. And then we have a conversation around it. And we discuss, okay, we know what we can see from here, but what can you see? How does every day feel for you? What are the blocks that you see? And what are the things that you're not achieving that you want to? Tell us about the people that are working within your business. And so this person had, 5 people on her team. Some were in the agency side, some were supporting the course side, and everybody had different skills.
Yeah.
And her biggest thing really was she had no room to breathe. She was constantly go, go, go. And at the end of each day, she didn't actually know what she'd achieved. And so we came in and we made one of our priorities, okay, we need to get you more time. And we need to see where your time is going to be able to do that. She also had no systems and no documented processes. And the team themselves didn't have any kind of defined roles. Okay. So everybody was overlapping. So when we work with clients, we try and pick a few core things that we think are going to have the biggest impact if they're resolved. And then that gives us the room and the space we need to work on more things to continue to grow and shape the business. So this is where we started with her time, with her team, and with her systems. And what we discovered through every day, we actually had a 15 to 30-minute check-in call with her because she needed that grounding. Some people don't, some people do. And we would see what she had on her agenda. What are you doing today? What is your priority? What do you think is going to come up? What don't you?
Yeah.
And we actually got her to track her time, which she'd never done before. And so when we started working with her, she was spending 5 hours a day doing things she wasn't expecting to do. And so whether that was, my team needed this, so I needed to support them, or I had to run out and do handle with this project and I wasn't expecting that, or I thought this wouldn't take me as much time, it has. And it was probably after 30 days, we had cut that 5 hours a day down to 30 minutes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that we did was really get that clarity of where is it that this time is going. And a lot of what we found was the team was a bit confused because there was no real clear guidelines on what they needed to be doing or how they needed to be doing that or who they should go to if they had a query. And so that just created this pattern of reactivity and things, they get to it, they go, client, how do I do this? Or what do I do here? And it was never documented or anything so that then you could use that as a basis for the next person and the next person. And she was underestimating how long it would take her to do things, especially if she got interrupted. We found that if she was interrupted in whatever work she was doing, it's almost like she lost 20% of her capacity and would have to go back and start again to remember where she was up to, get back in flow, do that again. And so simply by creating some patterns within the team and setting up that structure of here's who you report to, here's how you do some of these things that you're consistently asking about. And all of a sudden they had a template. They knew what was expected. They knew how to do the things. They had systems where, okay, in one scenario, if we do it this way, the likelihood is if I have a similar scenario, I would follow a similar pattern. So they were able to resolve their own problems as they came to because they'd been given a framework. And so that stopped this constant flow back to the top of the business. And it really did change the way her whole being operated. All of a sudden, she had all of her ideas back. She had time to expand her course and expand her program. She changed the way the agency operated, and we upped how the client experience was for that. And so the clients loved that. Like there was just, it had so many benefits for her, but ultimately she felt so much happier. She wasn't anxious going into every day. She didn't feel like she was constantly behind and like she was the bottleneck.
Yep.
And it was quite amazing doing that with her and then working with her team. Her team felt really supported in the same token because they all of a sudden had us there as well as her.
That is incredible. Do you guys, when you were working with her, what did that look like? Calls, emails, Slacks? How is that structure you guys have with somebody?
Yep. So we will set in check-in calls. So we do online calls via Zoom.
Yeah.
And I always find that having someone's face is a lot, it's a lot more connection that goes on there and it's a lot nicer. So we will always set in check-in calls, but we'll also set in planning calls. So we know that, regular communication is needed. And we also know that you need some time set aside to really think about what it is we're working on and resolve questions and queries. So we would have kind of separate calls set up for those at certain milestones. And then we're also big on, we don't want the entire team on email. So email we find always gets things lost. So we will always with our clients implement a project management system if the client doesn't already have one, or we use theirs. So whether that's Asana or Monday or somewhere where the tasks live. This is for when things have to be done.
Yes.
And then we'll implement a quick communication system. So that might be Slack or that might be WhatsApp or Voxer. So this particular client used a combination of Slack and Voxer.
Got it.
Based on whether it was the agency or whether it was internal team communications, which is where Slack came in, and I love it. And then we have frameworks around how to use that, which I think sometimes people can find tricky because we fall into what we're used to doing. So if we're used to emailing everything, that's what we'll do by default. And we have to kind of remember for ourselves, oh no, I do that over here, or I do that in Asana, wherever it might be, to keep all the information in really nice flow and so that everybody has access to the updates that they need without it getting overwhelming or you getting 100,000 notifications everywhere, because we don't want that either.
So good. I've really gotten a nice slice of how you work with a client in this capacity, and what a brilliant change that you guys have offered to her. So that, and I mean, I know that's only one of probably many that you guys work with. So there's like a wealth of case studies. I do want to ask a question around your academy that you guys do as well. So is this more for somebody like as a CEO or founder to send an assistant or team member to? Is that what that's for?
Yeah, so that it works on two levels. So we've had people who, yep, they send their OBM or the person that's running their business to it to learn how to really hold the position of being the online business manager. And a big thing that we talk about in the academy is what the role really is and what it is that CEOs and visionaries need from their business manager. And it's not just someone who can tick off a bunch of tasks. It's the space that they hold. It's the leadership role, those pieces. And we teach them how to step into that role. So then they walk away with that, as well as the toolkit of being able to move forward in that role and excel.
Yeah.
Or we have people who are contractors. They have their own service providing businesses where they do this for lots of different clients. And so they'll come in to upskill themselves and their business. And then we teach them about marketing. And a lot of it is actually insight into themselves. Where are their skills and where do they really lie? And how do they amplify that so that the people they're working for or with get the best from them? And how can they help get the best out of the people they're supporting? And that's the essence of the program.
So good. I have a real thing for the whole coaches teaching coaches movement, which I don't like. And what I love about what you guys do is because you're doing this every single day for your clients. And so what you're delivering in your training is exactly what's working. So thank you for being an example of good, solid training and offerings out in the world.
Thank you. It makes me so happy to hear you say that, because I'm the same. And so many people come to me and go, oh, I learned this, or someone said this. And I'm like, well, that might have worked 10 years ago or in theory, but in reality, it's not going to get you the outcome, because here are the things that they don't see.
Yeah.
And it's just this whole, I wouldn't know that if I still wasn't doing it every day. Like
Exactly.
there is that level of we're on the ground too. And I think people tend to hold so much information to themselves. And it's like, if I work something out, I want somebody else to know it. I want somebody else to be able to use it to get better results in their world as well.
So good. So if somebody wants to work with you, we'll start with the OBN, the academy, the training that you guys offer. How does that work? Are there intakes, cart open closes, is it evergreen? What happens?
Yeah. So OBM Academy at the moment, I only run live. So it's intakes, and we run it 2 to 3 times a year. So
Excellent.
We will always run it at the start of the year, so in February, and then we run it in June. So the next one opens in the middle of June, and then we start at the start of July.
Perfect.
And then we sometimes will offer another round in October if we have people that are really interested at that point.
Excellent. So my dear listeners, if you are interested, actually the time this show comes out should be roughly around the time your next intake. So if you guys have team members that you know could be upskilled, now's your time to go and check it out. So where do they go to get their team involved in that training?
Yep. So they just go to leannewoff.com, which is my name, /OBM Academy.
Excellent.
So nice and easy.
Easy. We'll have that in the show notes. And flip side, if somebody wants to work with you and your incredible team and have you guys actually work on their business, who's your ideal client for that?
So my ideal clients it's interesting because I'm not great at following traditional rules. So the people that I work with, it is more about who they are and how they operate within the world than exactly what they do. So it's empire builders, people who want to scale, who want to make an impact on the planet, who want to be innovative, who are open to new ideas. And generally this tends to be multi-6, 7-figure business owners who really want a highly capable, highly skilled team to come and help them scale their impact and what they're doing and do what they do better.
So good.
So that's who I generally work with. And then if they want to reach out and have a chat or see more about what they do, they can find us at audaciousempires.com or on LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever, at Audacious Empires. It's quite easy.
Easy. 2 little paths for you guys to take based on you as the business owner or for your team. So I absolutely love it. And as we start to wrap up, have a think, Leanne, around people listening to this. They're they're scaling, they're growing their businesses. They're exactly the people you work with. Is there some words of wisdom, something you like to leave them with to motivate them and inspire them to keep going?
Yes, I really do. And that is to take a breath and to just remember why it is why it is you do what you do, because the likelihood is no one will be present in the world the way that you are, and the world needs you to be you. And if that means that you have to breathe and slow down a little bit to do things in a smarter way, your impact will be exponential.
A perfect way to end this episode on. Thank you so much for being here and sharing so much with our listeners. It's been incredibly invaluable. So thank you again.
No, thank you so much, Heather. It's been amazing talking to you.
Thank you.